Hello, I am Joel Bloom at New Jersey Institute of Technology. We pride ourselves on being part of the Newark community and its advancements in technology, the economy, and the growth of the city. That's why we are very proud to partner with the Caucus Educational Corporation to produce Newark at the Crossroads, right here on the NJIT campus. We hope you enjoy this special series.
Funding for this special edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato at NJIT has been provided by New Jersey Institute of Technology, Prudential Financial's Global Communications Department, Audible.com, Barnabas Health, Life is Better Healthy, TD Bank, Josh S. Weston, and by the law firm of Gibbons, P.C. Promotional support provided by The Record, North Jersey's trusted source, and NorthJersey.com. And by the New Jersey Business and Industry Association and its monthly magazine, New Jersey Business.
This is One-on-One.
When you first heard that they were doing Charlie Rose and Gayle King, didn't you go, what?
People like laughing at others, so I don't mind if the other is me.
See, you go right into the character. That's what it is.
I'm bringing families together a half an hour each week. Man, I'm doing something special.
And so I do feel successful.
Hi, I'm Steve Adubato. We're coming to you from the Jim Wise Theater at NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology. This is Newark at a Crossroads. Fascinating series talking to the movers and shakers who make things happen in Newark. I want to introduce our good friend Patrick Dunican, who is the chairman and managing director of Gibbons PC. By the way, you go by Patrick Dunican Jr., right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm a junior, too.
I noticed.
We have a lot to live up to, right?
No, that's absolutely.
Patrick, put Gibbons in perspective. You've been a partner of ours for a long time, and one of the last things we did when we talked about Newark was you were the Grand Marshal of the St. Patrick's Day Parade in Newark, right?
That's right.
We're marching proudly behind you in that parade. First of all, that is part of a much larger initiative when it comes to your firm and your commitment to the city and the charities here, right?
Sure. Gibbons is a law firm founded in Newark in 1926. So we've been around in Newark close to 90 years. And it was founded by a gentleman by the name of Andrew B. Crummy, who was Irish descended. And the first 6 or 7 partners of the firm were all of Irish descent because they couldn't get hired anywhere else. So, of course, we've broadened now to 230 lawyers with 5 offices in 4 states, but we're committed to the city of Newark, our home base. And when I was approached to be the Grand Marshal of the Newark St. Patrick's Day Parade, I couldn't believe that none of the great attorneys who were at my firm before me, who happened to be of Irish descent, had been asked to be the Grand Marshal. So we did it the way Gibbons does things, and we embraced it. And
in a big way.
In a big way. And under the rubric of our program, which is our giving program called Gibbons Cares, we raised more money for the charities, the Newark-based charities, than any other Newark parade had ever raised.
Such as?
The Newark-based charities, St. John's Soup Kitchen, Boys and Girls Club of Newark, the Newark Museum, the Newark Library, some of the other grassroots organizations that we support, like Christ the King High School, the
St. Benedict's Prep, I think, too.
St. Benedict's Prep,
St.
Philip's Academy.
All that? I mean, why would someone say, I'm sorry, St. Philip's, I'm sorry for interrupting.
Right.
But here's my question. Someone would say a law firm, because by the way, when you come into Newark, you see the big Gibbons sign, right? Why, other than making money, other than having good lawyers and representing people, why that part of it?
Well, I think the answer is twofold. Doing good while doing well is really important to our firm, to give back to the communities that we're operating in. And then derivative of that, or the second piece of that, is that we want to enhance the community that we're living in. And we break it down into support the children and families of the city of Newark, because these are going to be our employees, both at the firm and then in the future. So that's why we're involved with such high schools like Christ the King High School or Team Academy. And then we want to support the cultural institutions of the city, the New Jersey Performing Arts Center.
Where you serve on the board.
I'm on the board there. And they're employing the people that live in the city of Newark. This is our home, too. And we want to enhance our community and help that next generation, because Newark has seen its troubles. My partner, John Gibbons, the standard bearer of the firm, was the president of the State Bar Association in the late 60s during the riots, and he coordinated—
The riots in the city of Newark, 1967, go ahead.
That's right, and he coordinated the efforts of the lawyers to assist those individuals who were being rounded up and arrested. So again, our firm has been deeply involved in the city of Newark and trying to help its residents for a really long time.
You know what's interesting? You know, we're doing this series, Newark at a Crossroads, and you know, we're talking about education, crime, employment issues, a whole range of things, environmental issues. What's interesting about a firm like yours is there are a lot of law firms. I'm not saying just because we're all friends and we're Yankee fans together, but in all seriousness, a lot of law firms choose to go to the suburbs, and that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. When you have the option of moving to a big office complex in a, off a highway, which, a lot of them have done. Sure. Is there pressure to do that as opposed to, no, we're staying downtown Newark, we're going to be here, especially during the tough times? Is there pressure?
There's a lot of pressure. Number one, it's a lot less expensive to move to the suburbs, to be out there on that highway.
It's less expensive?
Absolutely. Far less in terms of rentable for the square footage of the property, absolutely. But we want to be part of the city. Also, we've made a business decision that being at the crossroads of New Jersey and have the train line, the airport, and all of the other infrastructure available, right, that it enhances our business and our client experience to be able to come to home base headquarters here in Newark rather than out in the suburbs.
But there's another piece. I remember a night that Patrick was, I feel like twice you were honored. Well, more than that, but twice we got involved in this. Seton Hall Law School.
Yes.
You got this connection there.
Yes.
So we talked about the fact a lot of people talk about Newark as a college town. So you got Seton Hall Law School right here, NJIT. You got Rutgers, you got Essex County College, you got Berkeley College. I remember the night you were being honored by the law school. Seton Hall Law School's presence in the city of Newark is huge. Talk about that.
Absolutely. Well, I'm the chair of the Board of Visitors at Seton Hall Law School, and it's really important to the city to have those types of institutions that you mentioned here.
Why?
Why? The economy flourishes as a result of the dollars that those students are spending, whether they're buying lunch or paying for parking or any of the ancillary benefits that can come from having people coming into your city. This is a beautiful area up here with Rutgers, NJIT, and it only can enhance the city by having those kids and their dollars flowing into the community, and it creates jobs for the people that live here.
But Patrick, I often think about what it would take to create more of a college town, in the sense that you'd want young people, and by the way, not just young people, anyone going to college at any level, graduate school, it doesn't matter, the medical schools, et cetera, to want to hang around, be a part of things, go to NJPAC, go to some of the restaurants, go to the bars. What are some of the obstacles we face in that way?
Housing would be the number one thing. You need student housing to have the kids come here, live here. That's an issue that we've been looking at the law school. I know that the other institutions are working on that.
Including NJIT.
Issue. Absolutely. Rutgers, right, for sure.
Right.
And to me, the reputation of the city.
Talk about that from a crime and fear perspective.
Well, it has to be enhanced. And I've been in the city since 1988, when I started law school at Seton Hall. And it was very different back then. You didn't know if your car was going to be outside when you went outside. So it has become safer. And that's because of institutions like Seton Hall putting up a new building, NJPAC, the Prudential Center, what Prudential's doing downtown. All of those things are really good and changing the face of Newark, but we have some work to do. Reputationally, we suffer. People don't want to come to Newark up there in the suburbs. They worry about it. They worry about the crime. So that's got to be the number one focus of the people who care about this city, reducing crime and making it safer for people to come.
Before I let you out of here, the long-term commitment of your firm to this city, describe it.
We're going to be here. We've been here for close to 90 years. We're going to stay in Newark. This is our home. This is headquarters for us. We love it, and we're going to do everything we can to enhance the quality of life for our employees and for the people who live in the city.
By the way, one more organization you guys support. Am I wrong? You guys are into the symphony? Excuse me, the orchestra.
We
New Jersey Symphony Orchestra.
If it makes sense to one of my partners and they say that they're into it, then we'll evaluate. But we do support the symphony, along with a lot of other organizations that bring value to the city.
And that's why it's called Gibbons Cares. Patrick Dunican Jr., Chairman and Managing Director, Gibbons PC, at the heart, or in the heart of the city of Newark. Patrick, thank you, buddy.
Steve, great to see you.
We're crossing our fingers for the Yankees doing good things. Stay with us. We're coming to you from NJIT, talking about Newark at a Crossroads. We'll be right back right after this. Thank you, Patrick.
To see more one-on-one with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
Joe Della Fave is the Executive Director, Ironbound Community Corporation. They've been there since 1969 here in the city of Newark. Good to see you, Joe.
Good to see you, Steve. Thank you.
For people who do not know the Ironbound section of the city of Newark, describe it.
One of the richest sections of anywhere in terms of cultural diversity and, just richness of people. More than half the community has emigrated there in the last 15, 20 years. More than 2/3 of that community is foreign-born.
From what kind of places?
Well, coming from Portugal, from Spain early on. In the last 10, 15 years, mostly Central and South America, including Brazil. So you have Spanish, Portuguese, English, and everything our organization does is in 3 languages.
Soccer big down there?
Soccer is big, and so is Little League Baseball and other things, but you know darn well soccer is enormous in the Ironbound.
And you know what's interesting, Joe? We've had many conversations offline as well, and being someone who knows the city as well as you do, this question is something that a lot of people think about, but I want to put it on the table. The Ironbound does so well. We had Armando Fontura, the sheriff, who comes from the Ironbound, who talked about how vibrant it is, that the economy is strong there, that crime is low, and things are great. I often ask myself the question, in some ways, is the Ironbound actually a separate city from the rest of the city of Newark? Is it?
Well, you know, you have that separation of the Amtrak line. And one of, I think, the jobs of the Ironbound Community Corporation...
So Ironbound excuse me for interrupting. Ironbound separated from the rest of the city by Penn Station.
Physically, yes.
Yes.
And I think because of its immigrant status, it's been provincial in many ways. People don't necessarily go out of the Ironbound because they have so much there to take care of themselves with. The shopping, the busy Ferry Street commercial district, it's there. On the other hand, Steve, I will tell you that in some ways it is very much like the rest of the city. More than 2/3 of the census tracts in Ironbound have high poverty rates. If you go down to the East Ferry area, in 2 of the census tracts of almost 8,000 people, you have a poverty rate of over 30%. You have 25% of adults with less than a 9th grade education. Almost 60% of adults without a high school degree, which is greater across the Ironbound, which is higher than the actual city of Newark statistic. So it's a funny type of demographic there. Rich, vibrant community, people working hard, yet at the same time, in the underbelly of things, you have lots of struggles among people.
Describe your organization and how you attempt to respond to some of those issues, some of the programs.
We service 1,000 people every single day with programs ranging from early childhood education to senior services and just about everything in between. We essentially try to do 2 things. One is to strengthen children and families through our direct services, really engage and empower them. And the second thing is to engage people in the life of their community through community planning efforts, environmental cleanups, park development, as in Riverfront Park, which we celebrated the opening of last year.
We should make clear that Riverfront Park, sorry for interrupting. Riverfront Park has had a history of environmental problems, fair to say?
The riverfront was a barren site, an industrial site, heavily polluted in some areas, completely unused. Now it is an absolute gem and is the beginning of the entire riverfront of Newark being such a major, I think, attraction and quality of life enhancement.
What impact could it have?
I'm sorry?
What impact could that have? What's happening in Riverfront Park?
It has multiple impacts. Number one, it doubles the amount of open space in Ironbound itself, which was park deprived. Only a half an acre. Only half acre of open space for every 1,000 residents, compared to, say, New York City, which has 9.5 acres, and that's on the low end. Montclair, you're talking about 35 acres or whatever. So it enhances quality of life in the neighborhood. Secondly, as it makes its way around Penn Station, it will be an attraction for downtown and for visitors as well. So it will enhance the life of the city. And thirdly, it can become a unifying agent in the city of Newark. Newark Riverfront Revival, which is a citywide effort, and Ironbound Community Corporation together in partnership have been programming the city. So not only do we have Zumba nights and movie nights, and not only do we have Portuguese cultural events there, we have gospel nights there. We have jazz nights. So the attempt is to draw people from all over the city and it become really a unifying element within a city.
You know, Joe, what's so interesting is people who visit, one of my favorite restaurants, by the way, down there is Forno's.
Sure.
But it's one of many. People who visit, you often walk around in Forno's or other restaurants down there, and an awful lot of people are not from Newark. They are from the suburbs, they're from other communities. And I think to myself, people feel awfully safe in the Ironbound. Why is that?
Well, I think because of the vibrant street life. So Ferry Street obviously
is mostly Ferry Street? Is mostly restaurants?
Ferry Street is alive commercially. I think the rest of the neighborhoods, people, you know, are on their front stoops a lot, so you get some of that. But at the same time, I think what you're looking at when you look at Forno's, when you look at that commercial area, is vibrancy, daytime and nighttime. The rest of the Ironbound is quiet. It's a lot more sedate. And so it's not unlike some other neighborhoods within Newark as well.
How do you see your role? It's interesting. When you talk about the city and the rest of its problems, how do you see your role as a community leader in the Ironbound section, where people do say, hey, look at the great things going on in the Ironbound, right? But then you're talking about other sections of the city that are struggling, like you're talking about poverty rate in the Ironbound. But one of the dilemmas is that while you have that, you have all these other great things going on. You look at these other community organizations struggling to try to deal with problems, say the Central Ward or the, you know, where the riots happened in '67, whatever. What do you talk to those folks about? And loaded question, I know. Do you get a sense of resentment sometimes that they think, hey, you guys don't have any idea what we're dealing with?
Actually, I don't. And I think the reason is because for many years we have been very collegial. We have made strong efforts to cross that Amtrak line. So we, and certainly I and some of the other staff people at Ironbound, play a very, very strong role across the city in coalition building and in various leadership roles. So whether it's the Early Childhood Coalition of Newark, where I sit on the executive committee with other leaders from around the entire city, Newark Community Development Network, where we talk about planning and development across the city, whether it's the Environmental Justice Alliance statewide and within the city, we sit and we play a leadership role at all these levels. So we're constantly talking with others, and I think because of that, and we're actually giving technical assistance and to many others. I think because of that, it's not a matter simply of resentment, but a matter of always building working relationships. Everything in the end is about relationships, whether it's with a client, whether it's across the city with your colleagues, whether it's with your funders and corporate supporters.
Absolutely.
Everything's about relationships, and I think that's where we have a strength.
And Joe's organization has been incredibly helpful to us. We've done a series of public forums dealing with the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, and Joe and his team at the Ironbound Community Corporation has helped bring people together and helped educate folks about the complexity of that law and how they need to access it. So, Joe, I want to thank you for joining us here at NJIT. Joe Della is the Executive Director, Ironbound Community Corporation. Joe, I want to thank you and I wish you and your organization nothing but the best.
I appreciate it, Steve. Thank you very, very much.
You got it. Stay with us. We'll be right back as Newark faces some fascinating crossroads down the road. We'll be right back after this.
To see more one-on-one with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
We're joined by Judith Sheft, who is Associate Vice President, Technology Development at NJIT. Good to see you, Judith.
Thank you. Good to be here, Steve.
Part of the wonderful group of people here at NJIT that have welcomed us, but also taught us about some important things going on. There are a couple programs I want to ask you about and ask what the direct connection is to the city of Newark and how the city benefits. There's something called the upSKILL program. What is that?
So upSKILL is a grant that we received from the Federal Department of Labor and Workforce Development to help us take and retrain out-of-work IT and STEM professionals to get them the
STEM, science, technology.
Engineering and math.
Okay, go ahead.
To get them the skills they need so they can get back into the workforce. As you know, there's been a lot of dislocation in the workforce, things in the financial services industry, other things in the pharmaceutical industry. We want people to get the skills so that they can employ them and get back to work here in New Jersey.
But bring that back to Newark, though, Judith. How does that particularly benefit residents in the city of Newark?
So some of the academic partners who are participating on the grant are NJIT, which is here in Newark, Rutgers, Newark campus, and Essex County Community College. So residents are able to participate in taking the training right here in Newark and hopefully get employed with some of the big employers here in the city of Newark.
So interesting, as we've talked to people about, the connection between higher ed and the community itself, in this case, the city of Newark. When it comes to opening up opportunities in the fields of science and technology, that is a big responsibility that you and your colleagues see, is it not?
Absolutely. Because we really want to make sure we understand from the employer's perspective what are the skills they need, and then we want to make sure that we're training people, both our undergraduate students, our graduate students, as well as people who are unemployed, to help them get the skills they need so they can get back to work and help with the resurgence of Newark.
And real quick, STEM jobs are, in terms of sectors and in terms of what parts of the economy that are relatively hot, still pretty hot.
Absolutely.
Because?
Because IT impacts all the job activities. You've got IT in life sciences, advanced manufacturing, financial services. Everybody's using IT skills. Even the little small startup companies need people who have IT skills to help them move ahead with their activities.
One of the keys that we've often talked about is networking, building relationships. Is it actually called Brick City, which people don't realize sometimes Newark is called Brick City. Brick City meetups. What are Brick City meetups?
So meetups in general are groups of people who get together to talk about different topics. And Brick City Tech Meetup gets together on a periodic basis, once or twice a month, to talk about different technology topics. Sometimes they've hosted the meetings here at NJIT. Sometimes they've hosted them in downtown Newark at the Converge co-working space. And they might have a discussion on strategic alliances, or they might get together one time to talk about programming languages, because we really want to let people know from a tech perspective, you don't have to go to New York City to enjoy the technology ecosystem. You can have that right here in Newark.
You talked about, before we got on the air,
Yeah.
you talked about the fact that New York does some things like this. Are we competing with New York in this way?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Make that clear.
So there's a lot of meetups that go on in New York City, and we want the same amount of activity happening here in Newark, because we've got the same ecosystem in terms of transportation. It's easy to get to. You can move around the city. So we want to let people know you can come to lots of different activities, whether it's our business incubator at the EDC, whether it's...
The EDC is the Economic...
Enterprise Development Center.
Let me ask you about that. Mm-hmm. That whole Enterprise Development Center, there are 90-plus businesses doing what?
Doing what? They are in all sorts of fields. We've got companies who are in medical device area, drug development, cybersecurity, e-learning. We've got a couple construction companies, consulting companies.
And what are you doing for them?
What are we doing for them? We are helping them move their businesses forward. We're making connections for them to kind of link back to what you had asked about earlier. The other day I got a call from a company who said, hey, I'm working on a breath test. The company is Mensana Research. They have breath technology where they can analyze your breath to determine different disease states. He wants a connection because he'd like to study animals. So we make the connection for him with Rutgers Newark and some of their animal lab facilities. So it's connections, it's helping them make their businesses move forward, whether it's financial resources or other alliance partners.
When you got into higher ed as an academic, did you envision that you would be involved in networking, relationship building, collaborations, or collaborating to this degree? And because that's not traditional academia.
Right. So my career before I got into academia was I spent time at AT&T in their semiconductor division. So I developed strategic alliances for AT&T's microelectronics.
But your training by
division.
background is in?
Mathematics.
Okay. But that's very precise and clear.
Yes.
And relationship building, collaborating is not.
Right, right. And so you're right. It becomes something totally different. And so you have to say, I'm doing marketing things. So sometimes I'll talk
Marketing and mathematics.
Yeah. No, but sometimes I'll talk to companies in the incubator and they'll tell me something they've done and I'll say, this could be a press release. And they'll look at you like, a what? And I'll say, you need to market yourself. You need to let people know what you're doing.
So interesting.
Yeah.
The other piece that connects to this is, students who come to NJIT or any other great institution that teaches science, technology, math, engineering. But I'm curious about this. Is it a competition that teaches students not just the technical side of being successful, but they're competing to do what in business?
So we've been funded from Capital One Bank along with some other partners to put on the Newark Innovation Acceleration Challenge.
The Newark Innovation
Acceleration Challenge. And so there's 2 tracks to it. So we invite college students from NJIT, from Rutgers, from Essex County Community College to submit business ideas for plans that they would like to pursue. And they're judged on a variety of criteria. And the winners then participate in a summer Lean Accelerator program where we get them out of their comfort zone talking to prospective customers. So it's not just tell me about what you want to build, it's actually go talk to some customers and find out what they think about your business idea and how you want to modify it. I mentioned there's 2 tracks to the competition because there's a student track as well as a community track. So we've had individuals from the Newark community who participate in the competition as well.
What do they take away from this? A few seconds left. What do these students take away?
They take away learnings that they're going to be able to apply should they decide to pursue the businesses, as well as learnings that they can use in other business activities.
All happening right here at NJIT.
Absolutely.
In the heart of the city of Newark. That's why people, when they say it's a college town, what goes on there, that's what it is. Judith Sheft from NJIT, I want to thank you for joining us. Good things happening over here.
Thank you.
I'm glad that you shared them with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was great.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this special edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato at NJIT has been provided by New Jersey Institute of Technology, Prudential Financial's Global Communications Department, Audible.com, Barnabas Health, TD Bank, Josh S. Weston, and by the law firm of Gibbons, P.C. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. This program has been made possible in part by the Fidelco Group.
Hi, I'm Eric. You might see me as an ordinary person, but I've been living with a brain injury for nearly 2 years. One of my struggles is short-term memory loss. At Opportunity Project, I'm given hope and support, and I've gained my confidence back through the job placement program. Despite my challenges, I have a reason to keep improving. Today, even though life has changed me, I believe that anything is possible.
If you have a brain injury, you don't have to face your road to recovery alone.